All right, welcome back to the channel. Now some of you may remember this from a previous video. This had a counterweight on the bottom and I used all the sand out of that busted up counterweight to put in the lawn roller that I made out of a hot water heater. So the project now is to get this thing mounted up so we can utilize it again. And I found a piece of 3/16 stainless steel on Facebook Marketplace this morning, and it's just about the size that I need to mount this pole, this basketball hoop pole, over here off of this surface. Now I'm going to get rid of the bottom length of the pole itself, and here's a template of this piece of metal. And the plan is, after I did some measuring this morning, is that I've got to keep 4 inches of space between that and the upper structure here in order for that basketball backboard to be adjustable for, you know, the little kids. But the plan is to weld on some maybe 2-inch high pieces of the cutoffs of this in a square fashion, and they're going to go right inside the tube for the basketball hoop, and it'll set out here. And also I plan on welding like a flange on the side of this so it can bolt into the side of this beam, and then probably just a couple tap-cons down through the top here. And then up here I'm going to have another plate of steel that's going to screw to the bottom, but it's going to come out far enough that I can put a notch in the corner, and that notch I'll weld some flanges on it also. And then I'll put some riv nuts. Up here I'll have a plate of steel that'll get screwed in, and then it'll end up coming out here about 12 inches, the same place that this square at the bottom is going to be. And then it'll have a notch in the corner, and I'll weld some flanges here, put some holes through each side, and put some riv nuts in that pole, and then it'll be secured at this height. So let's get started on this project and see how it goes. All right, yesterday I got rained out, and I ended up hanging up a plumb bob, so I knew where the corner of this deck was, where my upper mount is going to go. And then I took the template and figured out that I needed to have the material in order to mount it to the side of this post. Now I'm going to have to cut it out of there and then weld it back on because I don't have anything to bend it with. Now I needed that 4 inches of clearance at the top in order for the backboard to go up and down. So I had to keep that distance away from this post. And then this piece on the end is kind of leftovers, but I'm going to utilize that by making a mounting plate here and a mounting plate here. I'm going to drill and tap those, put maybe 5/16 or 3/8 inch bolts into each side. And this square here is right where the bottom of that post is going to set. And then this line from this point to this point is going to be an angle that I'm going to cut. So I'm going to end up with the piece from there to there and there to there. And I'm going to take this piece, spin it around, and weld it to the bottom here as a support. And this piece right here, this length, is going to set up against the wall and help support that post out there. And I've also left a 1/2 inch around here so that I'm going to put some sort of molding to keep people from running into it, or if they do run into it, they won't get cut or hurt. So that's going to go all the way around here, and this piece is just going to angle back to here. So let's cut up the stainless steel that I've got and see if we can make this work. Okay, I was just about ready to lay out that bracket for the section where the plates are going to go to hold the bottom of this post. And then I decided to come out here, find the location to get this thing cut to make it the right height so that the dimensions on this adjuster will be accurate. So I did the math and I figure I've got to cut it off here. And it ends up right in a section where this thing got expanded to accept the next lower post. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it where I determined it's going to make it the right height, and then find out if I'm going to have to pull out a section of this pipe. But we'll get cutting on this and see how it turns out. All right, the two brackets are made. I've got one of them laid out. I have to tear the smithy back apart from being set up for a lathe and make it into a drill press. But then I'll drill and tap these holes to handle a 5/16 18 bolt. And I'm going to put 2 in each side. And then I'm going to drill them both at the same time so they'll be a duplicate of one another. All right, the bracket is set up, ready to weld, except for I've got to go put a couple holes in this piece right here for putting the lags into that beam. But there's that piece. Here's the bottom brace. And the leftovers from this I used as a pad here on the bottom. I did cut a little notch in that because there's a block that overhangs a little bit at the top. And once I get it tacked together, I'll go out and put this piece under it, mark it where it sits correctly under this, and then bring it back in and tack it and weld the thing into place. All right, I think I've got everything set up to get this thing welded. Might have to adjust the amperage a little bit, but let's see what we can do here. Definitely a little light. Turn this up a little bit. Went from 77 to 90. Should have cleaned that off before I ran into it. Got that cleaned up. Try to fill in the little hole I left and run that bead down the other side. All right, it's the next day. I was running out of daylight last night and I neglected my filming, but I finished welding this thing up and I got it out here and got it mounted last night. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you how far I've gotten today. All right, just like I had planned, I used 2 4-inch lags into the bottom of this beam here, and I used 2 tap cons to fasten it to this block. And then underneath, I got that brace welded on, and it's not secured in any fashion against the wall. It's just setting against it with gravity, holding it in place. But that's welded on. I welded the flanges on, and this morning I came out, took the pole off the backboard, and set it up, plumbed it up, and bolted it into place. But then also I made the template for the top. Now I'm out of stainless steel, but I've got some 1/8 inch just plain flat metal, and that's my plan, is to bolt it to the bottom of these floor joists up here and then put those little flanges. Now those go up also. Let me see if I can get it there. So front, or the side and the back, I'm going to end up using right here nut zerts in the side of this, front and back, probably 1 or 2, I'm not sure, top and bottom. And then I'm going to wait to secure this piece, so I make sure that I've got this plumb. It's plumb now, but before I screw it into place, I'll just plumb this up, and then however many screws I decide to put in this plate will hold it in place. All right, I'll get started on this and see if we can't get this thing up and ready for today. This is what that template looks like from the top. And what I'm going to do is, any place that this template might hold water, I'm going to go ahead and cut that out so that I don't have water sitting there and pooling and soaking into the wood. I've got the piece of steel set here on the burn table. I'm going to use the plasma cutter again, just like I did on the stainless steel. And I'm going to try to waste as little steel as possible. And so I'm probably going to end up with something along that line. We'll see how that works. May change my mind here, but I'm going to put it on time lapse and we'll get this thing going. All right, I finished that upper bracket. I took it out, I test fit it, clamped everything in place, put a couple screws in it just to secure it, and then I went ahead and clamped in this post tight into that little bracket that I made, and then I went ahead and I put a centering punch through those holes to give me locations for my riv nuts that I'm going to put in. So I've got these all marked out. I'm going to drill them, put these inserts in, and then we'll get back and put this thing together. But in the meantime, I painted that, and we're going to let that dry while I'm getting these inserts put in. I've probably put in a total of 40 riv nuts since I've owned this tool. But this particular brand I got off of Amazon, and I've bought an extra pack of the 5/16 18 just because I use those quite a bit. And that is the name of the tool, and there's the model. But I'm real happy with it, and it has performed well for me. But in this application, it's a great tool to have. All right, it's the next day and the post is mounted. After I got the upper bracket in place, I had my son, Matthew, come out and help me lift this into place. And when we went to tilt it into the upper bracket, I found that I had a clearance issue on this adjusting tube. So while he held it away, I cut out a clearance cut, which I'll take the camera off the tripod and show you here. But it ended up being nice and sturdy and stiff, and seems to be doing a nice job. And I'll get you a close-up of both the brackets and the whole thing as a finished unit. There's a shot of that upper bracket, and over here you can see where I had to make the clearance cut, this triangular shape right here, in order for this adjuster to clear. And as this thing adjusts to a shorter size, this gets closer and almost hits there. So that's why it's so big a clearance cut. And all the bolt holes lined up, both these at the bottom and the ones at the top, to that bracket worked real nice. And the adjuster works just like it should. And overall, real pleased with how this has turned out. And during the winter, I can crank it down, get it down low, and then I can take the net off of it. Another project done. Time to move on to the next one.